The story starts with crows flying over a battlefield underneath the vast sky. Soldiers were confronting each other, and one of them was at war with his own self as he thought, I used to believe that even someone like me, whose talents awakened, blossomed, and took root on the battlefield, could begin a new life. In that new life, I will be able to create a family, something that I'd been desperately yearning for. But I was mistaken. Soon after, they looked down on a soldier on his knees, and another one standing in front of him said, How tenacious! It's been a long time since someone made me swing my sword more than 10 times. And then he asked him, Are you the famed Arguk? The talent that blossomed on the battlefield, Arguk, while barely holding his breath, thought, He knows who I am. I never thought I would be so happy about that. Then he laughed and said, Ha ha, what an honor that you recognized me, Duke Thermion. The soldier down on his knees was Arguk from the Danic Empire. Danic laughed and asked him, Ha 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 ha, you know my name? Arguk replied, Yes, I do. One of 6 Hexaclass knights in the Altheon Empire. Just a day on this battlefield was more than enough for me to feel the weight of the Black Wave. Thermion said, So you faced me despite knowing who I was. It would be such a shame to end a talent like yours prematurely. Tell me, do you have any intention of surrendering? Arguk replied, Obviously. I was born on the battlefield, so I will also die here. Arguk stood up to face Thermion. As they both got close to each other, Thermion said, Despite saying that, I can see regret lingering in your eyes. You would have made a good rival if you were able to grow a bit more. However, if this is what you wish, then I hope that in your next life, you will be able to let go of your regrets. Thermion charged towards Arguk while saying this, and they both exchanged slashes of their swords. As they continued, Arguk reflected on his memories, thinking, The war between the Danic Empire and the Altheon Empire lasted many years. My mother was a young widow, a refugee of war. She left me alone in this chaotic world while I was young, taking her final breath. It was obvious what would happen to a war orphan. A life solely for my own survival, where I would do anything and everything to live. After turning 14, I was sent into my first battlefield, and there my talents awakened. The mana core in my heart raised my movements and senses to a level that couldn't compare to before. After surpassing 3 mana cores and becoming a quad core with 4 cores, I finally acquired the opportunity that I'd been wanting desperately. After this war, I might finally be able to find peace from this weary life. I was finally about to achieve everything. We then see Arguk getting defeated by Thermion while thinking, What a shame, I wanted to reach higher. As he gets pushed back by Thermion, he continues, I wanted to create a family, and like that, my dream was pitifully crushed. I thought it would end there, but he blacked out after that. And when he opened his eyes, he heard a voice. Oh, it's our little Dane, finally awake. Ha ha, he's a good boy. He doesn't even cry. He heard another voice saying, What is this? Why are his eyes so clear and beautiful? We then see a woman and a person standing in front of a baby. The woman says, I'm sure this child is God's gift to us. Arguk was the baby, and he questioned himself. What baby? What are they saying right now? The Archon picks him up in his arms and says, Dane, you must become a fantastic spearman and follow in my footsteps, for I am your father. Arguk, in confusion, questioned himself. Father? The person who is Arguk's father is named Dane Sogres. The woman standing next to him snatches Arguk from his hands and shouts, What are you saying? Dane will become a fantastic assassin. Her name is Lady Sogres, and she's Archon's wife. Archon says, Oh, honey, come on. How are you going to turn our youngest into an assassin? That would be horrifying. A man should use a spear. The spear is the most beautiful, complete martial arts. Lily shouted at him again, saying, Like I said, an assassin is better than a spearman. He could easily hide in the darkness, assassinate his target, and slip out unnoticed. That's much cooler. Argyrk thought. That's right. I thought I would meet my end there, but I ended up reincarnating. Not just that, it had to be in the Altheon Empire, my enemy, as the youngest son of a certain count. Arkan said, "Then let's just do this. We'll teach him both." Lily replied, "Sure. I'm sure Dane will become an assassin." Argyrk looked at both of his parents, thinking, "Currently, my parents are in the middle of a heated debate about my future." His father said, "Dane, become a spearman. Spearmen are amazing." Lily replied, "No, he will become an assassin." Argyrk continued thinking, "I am sure, because I was born in their later years, they want me to follow in their footsteps even more." A person intervened and said, "My lord, we have arrived." Arkan questioned, "What, already?" After that, we see them getting off from a cart as Arkan extends his hand, saying, "Now, Lily, please take my hand." Lily replied, "Ah, what if the members of the castle see us?" Arkan replied, "I am only trying to hold my wife's hand. Why would that matter?" He then gently held her hand, saying, "All right now, careful, careful." Argyrk thought, what a sight for sore eyes to see. As they walked, they stopped inside the castle. Maids were standing all around them, and Lily, while looking at Argyrk, said, "Oh my, it looks like Dane is happy to be back home. He's smiling so happily." Argyrk thought, "Yeah, if it's a house like this, it might be easier for my talents to spread wings than I thought." After 2 months had passed, we see Lily talking to Dane and saying, "Oh my, our Dane can bubble now." Argyrk thought, "Oh, so I'm bubbling. This is a new experience." On both sides, opportunities to meet young children were little due to my time wandering on the battlefield. The few children I did see were those wrapped in bandages and crying because they had nowhere to go. Many cried for their parents as they slowly succumbed to starvation and faded away. Compared to that, House Sogres is a fortunate and wealthy place. I won't be starving here. Arkan opened the door and shouted, "Ha ha ha ha, Dane, look at this. This is a spear." "How is it, Dane? It is long and pretty, right?" Dane thought. "This man is my father, the strongest hexaclass spearman in the Empire, Arkan Sogres." Despite his looks, he was a war hero known as the Blue Whirlwind. Lily angrily shouted at Arkan, saying, "Seriously, how can you enter a child's room with something so sharp?" Arkan replied, "I just wanted to show it to Dane." She, with an angrily look on her face, said, "Didn't I tell you no early education?" Lily, previously the best assassin in the Empire, further added, "If you keep doing this, I'm going to teach him the basics of stealth while he's still young as well." As Dane continued his thought, "And this is my mother, who has raised her voice higher than one would expect from an assassin." Lily said, "Dear, everyone is doing it these days. The famed magic house, House Teleport, puts a staff next to a child the moment they are born." Arkan asked, "Is the spear a staff now?" "The spear is sharp." Dane thought, what a harmonious family. The reason the two of them are putting so much importance in my future is because my 2 elder sisters chose careers that have neither to do with spearmanship nor assassination. Later, while feeding Dane, his 2 sisters were standing beside his bed. One said, "Look at this, Dane. If you do this, ta-da, your cheeks become fuller." Then she said to the other sister, "Kaya, look at Dane. He's even cuter now." Her name was Arabella Sogres. Dane thought, "Ah, my cheeks." Due to her talent in magic power, Arabella had walked the path of a mage ever since she was little. At 12, she was already a 3-chain class mage. Since the highest class for a mage is 9-chain, this meant she was a genius who had already passed her entry level. Arabella grabbed Dane's cheeks and said, "Dane, do you want to learn magic with me later?" "I'm so bored learning by myself every day." Claire Sogres, the other sister in a green dress, spoke, Summoning is good as well. Dane thought about her as Claire, also a good summoner. She succeeded in her first summon at the age of 7, and she's now able to handle 2 summons at once. Arabella told Claire to touch Dane's cheeks because they are so soft. She poked Dane's nose as he thought, I thought she didn't like me at first, but it seems more like the jealousy one feels when they get a younger sibling. She's less wary of me than before. Claire asked Arabella how he can be so soft. Arabella said, Right. Claire, while poking Dane's nose, said, Dane, it might be fun if you are talented in summoning as well. I'll teach you later. Dane hesitantly thought, Ha. Everyone wants to teach me their own specialty. My father, the Hexa-class spearman, my mother, the former assassin who had even attempted to assassinate an emperor in the past, my eldest sister, the genius mage, and my other elder sister, who is a genius summoner. The house of Count Sogres was the perfect noble family, and the ideal family that I had imagined. Is there a meaning to revenge in this life? Although my death was regretful, that place was a battlefield. It's funny to even say that I will take revenge against someone who defeated me fair and square. He then looked at all his family fighting over him as his father said, Spearmanship. It has to be the spear. His mother said, Stealth and assassination techniques are more useful. The eldest sister, Arabella, said, No! Magic is the trend these days. The other sister, Claire, also added, Summoning is good as well. Dane thought, I was always hoping for a family. I'm glad I was born here. He starts getting uncomfortable as all the family starts shouting at each other, and he thinks, It is a harmonious family, right? There exists a special ceremony in the house Sogres, the choosing ceremony. Many objects will be put on a table before them. Outside the house, many people came to attend the ceremony and were having conversations among themselves. A person said, Today is young Master Dane's first birthday, right? Another person said, The young master is already 1 year old. Time passes so fast. Another person in the crowd asked, The young ladies became a mage and a summoner, right? And the person standing close to him said, What will young Master Dane choose? An old person told everyone, We'll know at the choosing ceremony. Let's go in. They all went inside the house. The hall was filled with many people looking at Dane, who was sitting on the table with some equipment put in front of him. Some people in the crowd said, Oh, the young ladies have brought objects as well this time. My, how cute! When did they grow up? Arabella told Dane, Here, Bane, you just have to choose the one you like. Dane thought, Sigh, what do I do? Everyone must be waiting for me to choose the object they have placed. Arkan, standing beside him, thought, Our little Bane probably can't help but get drawn by Dragontail. The Dragontail is the spear in which the spearhead is made from the rare ore Ducran. When mana is imbued in it, it becomes as sharp and heavy as the mana put into it by its user. A mystical magic spear. This is the spear I spent my life with. Take your father's spear, Dane. Lily, at the same time, wondered, He's too handsome to become an assassin, but Dane will still choose the dagger. Nighthorn, created from the ore ethereal that can hold all the world's elements, can store and combine multiple different poisons. Arabella also stood firmly, thinking, Dane will become a great mage. He's going to follow after me. The Academy in the future. Subspace pouch. An object that can only be used by mages or those with talent in magic. Youngest, take your older sister's pouch. Claire thought innocently, If Dane can summon, I'll take him and fly on Tyron together. A summon sign is the sign of a summoner. Summoners use this sign and receive a code, depending on their talent. They can call upon their summons through it. That's my dream for you, brother. Bane was looking at them and thinking, Damn it, why does it feel like I can hear what they are thinking? He then gathered his guts and thought, This is troublesome, but I can't avoid it. He leaned forward, thinking, Which object should I take? Everyone in the crowd looked happy, so he thought, yeah, let's look at the crowd's reaction and choose according to that. He then crawled towards the equipment, and his parents filled with joy and cheered. Arkin said, "All right, Dane, choose what you want. Maybe something long and sturdy if possible." Lily also added, "No, the short and sharp one is pretty, right?" The eldest sister said, "That's the pouch your sister likes best. You remember me showing it to you, right?" Claire also said, "Dane, on a summon with me." As Dane crawled closer, all of the objects on the table started glowing. Dane questioned himself, "What is going on?" And Lily asked Arkin, "Dear, what's happening?" Arkin replied, I don't really know either." Both sisters shouted, "Dane!" loudly, and in the crowd people said, "Did you see that? All four of them reacted. My goodness, how is that possible?" It seems that the young master is a generational genius. Bane thought, "Haha, I was talented in the war, but this life is on another level." Arabella questioned Arkin, "Father, what do we do now? Has this ever happened before?" Arkin replied, "I can hardly believe it myself." Arkin and Lily looked at each other, smiling, and Arkin said, "Then we need to teach him all four now." Both sisters in panic asked, "All four of them?" After a few years, we see Dane training with Arkin. Arkin looks at him and says, "Well done, Dane. You've perfectly polished the technique I taught you before." Dane replied, "Thank you, Father." Dane has turned 7 at this time. Arkin, while head-patting his son, said, "Good, good, you're amazing, as expected of my son." A person walked in front of them with a spear in his hand and said, "My lord, I have brought it." Arkin said, "Oh, just in right time." Bane was about to question, "Father, is this?" But Arkin continued and said, "That's right. It's your birthday present. Originally, I was going to give it to you during your birthday banquet, but I wanted to give it to you before your mom did." Arkin grabbed the spear, and while handing it over to Bane, said, "Take it. I've been preparing this for 2 years. It was especially commissioned from a well-known craftsman in the capital." "Happy 7th birthday in advance, Bane." Bane grabbed it and said, "Thank you, Father. I'll use it well." Bane, after checking the spear thoroughly, wondered, "Amazing. The black spear handle and the silver spear head look amazing together. Also, it's so light." Arkin asked him, "So? Do you like it?" Dane replied, "Yes, I love it." Arkin said, "Good. I've requested it to be adjusted to your physique, so get used to it." After that, Arkin asked Dane, "Do you remember what the difference between a sword and a spear is?" Dane replied, With a spear's length, you can effectively restrict the opponent from getting close to you, and with its narrow contact area, it has high attack efficiency." Arkin replied, "That's correct. However, when you reach a certain level, it will be harder to use than a sword. That's the fundamental problem of a spear. To attack your opponent, minimum distance is required. But don't worry about it. Every weapon has its pros and cons. Even swords, which are called the perfect weapons, become weak in certain situations." Bane replied, "Yes, I will keep that in mind." Arkin said, "All right, since you've got a new spear, I'll teach you something awesome." As Arkin started to use his technique, Dane was surprised, looking at him and thinking, "So this is the power of a Hexa-class spearman. Even just the magic power he's emitting is overwhelming." Arkin thrust the spear forward, and the air got cracked with it. Dane looked at that and got surprised, thinking, "He only thrust the spear, but how is this possible?" Arkin said, "The reason that the space here was distorted was because I emitted the magic power in my body at the same time as I thrust the spear. This is a technique which utilizes the trait of a core that focuses magic power in one place." Bane replied, "Yes, I heard about it once from my sisters. Humans can exceed their physical ability beyond its limits. As the number of cores increases, so does their limit." Arkin nodded. "That's right. The number of cores determines one's magical capacity and potential. And as a hexaclass spearman, I have 6 cores that allow me to perform techniques like this. Dane's eyes widened with excitement, eager to learn more about his father's abilities and how to master his own. Arkan then asked Dane, "Now why don't you give it a try with your new spear?" Dane replied, "Yes, father, I'll try," and Arkan suggested him relax your mind and forget about what you're thinking, and thrust the spear. Dane said, "Yes, father," and then held the spear in his hand firmly, thinking, "In my past life, I didn't have any interest in spears. After realizing my talent for swordsmanship, I've only used them as a secondary. All right, time to give it my all." He then thrust the spear forward, and Arkan, while looking at him, thought, he's got good form. It took me 7 years to implement this technique. With Dane's talents, I wonder if he'll... Eventually, we see Arkan's face shocked as he looks at his son completely copying his technique rightfully. The air in contact with the spear shattered, and Arkan shouted in joy, "Dane, how did you do it?" He walked towards his son happily saying, "Ha ha ha. I'm impressed," Dane explained to his father. "At the moment I thrust the spear, I gathered magic power into one place and imbued it into the spearhead. And when the magic power reached the spear head, I cut its flow." Arkan, amused by his talent, questioned him, "Wait, you imbued magic power into it, then stopped the flow?" "Dane, did you form a mana core?" Dane replied, "Yes. While reading a book about creating mana cores, I tried to do it, and luckily I was able to." And then pondered with himself, "In truth, I formed it while doing mana breathing." Arkan, shocked by the detail, said, "You formed a mana core while reading a book." He then gently put his hands on Dane's shoulder and continued praising him. "Truly, a genius has been born into our house. I've sensed it since you were young, but now I'm sure about it. Dane, one day you will become an extraordinary warrior." Dane murmured, "There will be more surprises in the future for you, though." Arkan, while smiling, pondered, "Will he really? Will our son really become a mage, spearman, assassin, summoner?" After that, we witness a party for 7th birthday of Dane Sogres, the youngest of House Sogres. There were many people in the castle raiding food and having fun, and we saw Duke Thermion meeting with Arkan and saying, "Ha ha, Arkan, how long has it been?" Arkan asked Duke Thermion, "How have you been?" Duke said, "Geez, no need to be so formal. Let's talk just as usual. Duke Thermion is from the greatest house of the Altheon Empire, and he is the head of the Thermion Duchy." Arkan got closer to him and said, "Many people are looking at us. I'll be less formal later." Duke replied, "Ha, do as you please." He then asked Arkan, "Ever do you know where the boy is?" Arkan called Dane, saying, "Dane, come over here. Say hello to Duke Thermion." Dane thought Duke Thermion to meet here. He then met the Duke, and the Duke said, "So is this boy, Dane, your son that you keep praising?" Dane said, "My name is Dane Sogres." And then he thought, "I can't help but get angry seeing him again." Dane then greeted the Duke and said, "It's an honor to meet you, Duke Thermion." Duke said, "What a dependable son you got here. Looks like you don't have to worry about him." Then he questioned Arkan, "So he's learning the spear like you, right?" Arkan replied, "Yes, he is." A girl came closer to them and said, "Greetings, Count Sogres." The girl was Layla Thermion, youngest daughter of the Thermion Duchy. She said, "My name is Layla Thermion. It's an honor to meet you." After that, as the party continued and night got older, Arkan asked the Duke, "May I ask, how is the Baroness?" The Duke replied, "We're searching for any and all methods, but we've yet to make any progress." Arkan replied, "You're going through quite the ordeal, but I am certain she will get better." The Duke said, "If I suddenly disappear, please understand, it means I've used a scroll to quickly return to the capital. In any case, where has Dane gone off to? He seems quite the witty child. I wanted to talk to him a little more." Arkan replied, I wonder as well. I don't see Miss Layla either." Duke saw Dane and Layla walking in the garden and said, "It appears that this party was boring for the two children." Layla was happy with Dane, and she said, "Honestly, I don't like following father around all over the place, but right now, I'm glad I came here with him." Then looking at Dane, she thought he looks even more handsome out in the moonlight. Dane replied, "I'm glad to hear that. Our territory is a nice, peaceful place." Layla said, "It appears so. There's always something going on in our territory of Thermion. Nobles come every day to bow down to father, and sometimes even the imperial family shows up. Every time that happens, I need to go greet them in a dress. I hate that. I like dressing simple and swinging a sword around better." Dane assumed, "Oh ho, she must use the sword." Layla then asked him, "What about you?" And he replied proudly, I like both. This place isn't as lively as the capital, but every day I look forward to my spear training the most." Layla was amazed hearing that, and she asked, "Spear?" And then she said, "Oh, right. I forgot Count Sogres' nickname is the Blue Whirlwind. I've heard from father many times how incredible he is." She asked him, "Does this mean you're also aiming for admittance into the academy?" And he replied, "No. I'm not training in the spear for reasons like that." She then curiously questioned him, Why not? Isn't training to join the academy the obvious choice? Getting in is incredibly hard to do." He said, well, I'm training so that I can do even better once I enter the academy." She was shocked, and she asked, "What? But what if you fail to enroll?" He replied, "I'll simply have to try again. And if I still fail, I'll take it that this isn't my path." She said, "I don't believe it," and asked him, "Are you not afraid of disappointing members of your house?" He answered, "Not particularly." And she said, "I'm so jealous. My house finds failure unacceptable." "Ah, please forget what I just said," Dane thought. I didn't know nobles worried about stuff like that." And then he said to her nicely, "Why do you think that? You seem like you'll do plenty well." She asked him, "Really? Then could you take a look at my swordsmanship?" Dane asked, "What? Your swordsmanship?" She joyously said, "Yep." And Dane told her, "Okay, just for a bit, though." She replied, "Wonderful," and then asked him, "Where's your training ground?" Dane told her to follow him. They reached the training ground, and Layla portrayed her skills sharply in front of Dane. Amused Dane by her skills, wondered, "Whoa!" She flows smoothly between attacking and defending, and the timing of her attacks is great. But after a while, she starts going slightly offbeat. Layla, after working hard, was sweating, and she asked Dane, How was that?" Dane respectfully said, "It was fantastic, a delight to watch." Layla asked, "Really?" Dane pondered a little. I should probably tell her, though, right?" And then he said, "Yeah, but starting on your third form, you looked like you were taking half a step more. That's what it looked like when I thought back to the other forms. Because you kept taking half a step more than before, the later sword forms felt slightly out of alignment." Leela's face looked as if she felt cold from Dane's words, so Dane wondered, was I perhaps a bit too blunt? And then apologized to her. "I'm sorry if that upset you. It's been a while since I've seen swordsmanship that—" She stopped him midway and said, "Okay, so that's what it was. The piece of puzzle I was missing." She swung her sword and then tripped on Dane while hugging him. She thanked him, saying, "Thank you so much, Dane." The young Dane panicked and said, "Hey, what are you—" Layla rubbed her cheek on Dane's face and said, "You have a real eye for this, to spot in an instant what I've been getting wrong all this time. Thank you. I'll remember this." Dane pushed her back and shouted, "You're suffocating me. Also, could you please put the sword away?" She apologized. "Oopsie, sorry." Dane, with a shy smile, thought she surprised me with a sudden hug. Eventually, they both heard a voice calling for them as, "Young master! Dane! Where are you? Miss Leela!" Layla said, "Huh? Seems they're looking for us. Dane replied, Let's go back then. Layla agreed and said, Okay. On their way back, the person who was looking for them told them, "Oh, there they are. Where have the two of you been? We've been looking all over for you." Soon after, we see Dane receiving a gift from his mother as she said, "Congrats on your first Manicore, and happy birthday, Dane." His father also added, "I sincerely congratulate you on your 7th birthday." Dane said, "Thank you, Father, Mother." Dane opened the box, and her mother gave him, and there was a brooch with the family crest. It was like the ones his sisters were showing off. His mother said, "Please treasure it, Dane. This brooch will now serve as proof of your status and honor." Everyone in the hall started congratulating him, saying, "Congratulations on your birthday, young Master Dane. You have finally truly earned the name of Sogres. You will grow up to be a fine man like the Count." Dane stood with his mother and father happily looking at everyone and thinking, "It's my first time receiving such a warm applause from this many people." Suddenly, all the people standing there felt an earthquake, and people in the crowd panicked and said, "This tremor! What's happening? Damn it! Is it an enemy invasion?" Dane looked at Arkan, saying, Father Arkan stopped him and told him, "Calm down. It is nothing to fret over. It's starting again. I thought we might have some quiet today." Lily questioned Dane. "Do you have a guess as to who it is, Dane?" Dane looked up at the hall's roof and saw lightning. He noticed something and shouted, "No way." All the people in the hall were panicking as a girl fell off from the roof out of a portal and stood in front of them firmly. As soon as the crowd noticed who she is, everyone cheered happily. The girl looking at Dane said, "Would you look at the time? Your big sis wasn't late, right?" As she walked towards Dane, people in the crowd started talking about her DI'd the lady. Just used teleportation magic? My goodness. I heard that you need to be at least 5 chained to even open a small gate. For Our Lady to be such a genius. Dane, with a tiring look on his face, wondered, "She's so loud and flashy." Right then, some people standing close to the window saw a wyvern in the sky and said, "There's a monster up in the sky. My goodness, it's a wyvern. This time it's Lady Claire." Claire was flying up in the sky under the shiny moon, and she said I was a step too late. She entered the hall, and people around her cheered her with lovely comments. "I heard that she's a genius summoner, but to control a wyvern. Isn't she only 16 years old?" Both sisters looked at each other, and Arabella asked Claire. "You're here?" Claire replied. "Yep." Then they both stepped forward together and wished Dane. "Happy birthday, little brother." Arabella pushed forward her gift for Dane, saying, "I sincerely wish you a happy birthday, Dane." Claire as well did the same thing and said, "From me, too." Dane, with a shocked look on his face, said, "Thank you, elder sisters, for coming all this way to congratulate me for my birthday." Arabella told him, "Of course we came. Now, open it. I'm sure you'll love it." Arkan sarcastically looked at them and said, "They only gave me a letter for my birthday, but they've even prepared gifts for their younger brother." Lily heard that and laughed swiftly. Dane opened the gift from Arabella and asked her, "Big sis, isn't this a dimensional pouch?" Arabella replied, "Yeah, I designed it myself. The subspace magic used was of the highest chain. It was my professor who made it, though." Dane said, "Really, thank you." And then he wondered, I know how difficult it is to imbue subspace magic into an item. Arabella picked the ring-shaped relic and said, "Give me your hand. I'll put it on you." Dane continued with his thought. But what's even more difficult than that is to ignite an artifact capable of being imbued with it. And while slowly sliding the ring on Dane's finger, she told him, "Just so you know, I've applied your genetic code to it, so no one will be able to use it except you. It's the only one of its kind in the world." Lily touched the ring and appreciated Arabella, saying, "Judging by the fact that there's a small wave of mana, you must have used highest-grade magic stones." Arabella proudly explained to her mother, if you imbue a bit of mana in the ring, it'll poof and create the subspace. You won't need to go through the hassle of opening and closing a pouch ever again. Dane thanked Arabella, saying something so valuable. Thank you, elder sister, and thought it was something only used by the wealthy on the battlefield, like commanders who were born nobles or magicians. I never thought I'd end up using one. Arabella further added, the ring will also grow as you grow older, so... She suddenly noticed the ring glowing arc and shocked, said, Don't tell me, Duke Thermion, Liela, and Claire. We're also shocked. And Arabella said, You opened the subspace even faster than me? You really are a genius, Dane. You really are incredible. You might have both a mana core and a circle. Claire then told Dane, Open my present as well. Dane unwrapped the present box and found an egg inside. He then grabbed the egg in his hand and questioned curiously, Huh? Why is this egg? Claire, in panic, said, It's not just an egg. You have to be careful with it, Dane asked. Huh? Then what is it? Claire then whispered in his ears, It's a familiar. I was trying to summon Dekaran once, and that came out. I don't know what summon will be born from it, but I do know that everyone in the world knows how precious it is. Dane looked at the egg thinking, Yeah, I've heard about it before. Familiars, unlike summons, are a different entity, if similar to them. A familiar summoned once can remain permanently in this world, unlike summons. Claire continued whispering and suggesting him, No one knows about it yet. Dane, only you. So, let's keep it a secret until it hatches, okay? He agreed. Arabella got annoyed and shouted at them, Why are you guys taking so long? What are you whispering for? Claire didn't stop and told Dane, Even I don't know when it will hatch. So, make sure to pour mana into it every day, once in the morning and once in the evening, so that it recognizes you as its master. Dane replied, Yeah, I'll make sure to do it. Lily got closer to Dane and congratulated him, saying, Haha, look at these incredible gifts. It's nice that your sisters are back, isn't it, Dane? Dane replied. Yes, Mother. I like it so much. Arkan coughed to attract some attention and said, Ahem. Okay, princesses, while I am happy that you guys were able to make it after saying that you couldn't, could you also say hello to your parents? Arabella looked at him and suddenly asked, Father, have you been well? I was just so focused on giving Dane my gift that I'm sorry. Dane hugged both of his daughters and said, It's fine, it's all right. You all seem healthy. You came all this way for your younger brother. Rest well. They replied, Yes, Father. Layla was standing alone and looking at them while talking. Dane noticed her and thought, Leela, is she leaving now? But why? Does she look so lonely? Next day, we see Duke Thermion walking in the castle and thinking, she was much more incredible than I expected. As expected of the best magician at the academy. She's a desirable talent. She also suits my son, the best swordsman at the academy. He was picturing Arabella in his thoughts as he continued, If our two houses could combine, it would give birth a faction that even the imperial family would have a hard time touching. Then no one will be able to mess with my house or my children. All right. I should mention engaging our eldest children during today's conversation. He heard a sound and thought, This sound? Are they in the middle of training? Who is training so early in the morning? He went to check and saw that Dane was practicing with his spear fluently after witnessing his talent and effort. He thought, Oh ho, House Sogres' youngest son, ha ha. How incredible. His movements and concentration don't feel like a 7-year-old's at all. Even his simple stabs are of such high technique that spearmen who have been on the battlefield for years could still learn from it. How is that possible? I heard rumors about him showing incredible talent at just 1 year of age. I thought they were just rumors, but they were true. Hold on. His stance and footwork seem similar to a swordsman's as well. Don't tell me he even picked up swordsmanship at such a young age. Suddenly, Dane stopped moving and said in a louder pitch, "I don't know who you are, but it will help save your face if you come out instead of hiding." Duke thought, darn. I got caught. More importantly, his movements. They feel strangely familiar. I've definitely seen them somewhere before. He then stepped out from the wall and walked towards him, saying, "Sorry, Dane. I wasn't trying to steal a look at you." Dane looked at the Duke and said, "Ah, was it you, Your Grace?" They both looked into each other's eyes, standing firmly. Duke said, "I was mesmerized by the fine sight of Sogres' new rising star training this early morning. Will you forgive me for my mistake?" Dane replied, "You are forgiven." Duke thought, "Ho ho, this child has guts. Now that I look at him, how is his body not trembling even a little despite having trained this long? I hadn't made a manticore at his age either." Then he said to Dane, "Your stabbing attack was excellent. You've certainly inherited Arkan's talent. The spear you're holding." Dane replied, "Yes. I have been told that this spear was painstakingly prepared for me by my father. I'm grateful that you recognized it." Dane smiled and wondered that was the best answer he could have given me. My son, even when he was young, also had excellent skills and manners, but not to this extent. Perhaps I should consider arranging a marriage on this side as well. Duke Thermion told Dane, "Actually, my Layla has also been training her swordsmanship. You are of similar age, so you could be good friends once you enter the academy." Dane smiled and said, "Yes, Your Grace. I'll make sure to get along with her." Duke then laughed and said, "Ho ho, I like your forthrightness, young man. Anyway, it seems like I have bothered you enough during your training." Duke then asked Dane, Dane, I'm curious. Have you ever trained in swordsmanship?" Dane, after hearing that, worriedly thought, "Oh no, it seems like my habits came out without me realizing it. I'm not surprised he recognized it with one look." And then he said, "No, I have read some textbooks on basic swordsmanship, but I have never trained in it." Duke replied, "Oh, I see," and then pondered, "That's strange. I swear I sensed something akin to the raw battlefield on him. Ha ha, what am I thinking? There's no way that's the case. He's just a child." Duke then stepped away, saying, "Oh dear, it seems like I have spent too much time on this simple walk. Well then, I shall see you later when you see me off." Dane respectfully said, "Yes, Your Grace. Take care on your way back." And the Duke told him, "All right. If you happen to visit the capital, come look for me. I must repay the hospitality that I received here in the Count's castle. And I have become personally interested in you." Dane heard that and said, "I'll make sure to visit." Then he thought, "Interest? I wonder if he remembers me. To defeat someone who defeated me before. Just thinking about it gets my blood pumping. If I start preparing for it step by step now, I'm sure I'll be able to do it. But Thermion, I'll definitely defeat you in this life." After that, he started training again, and the butler of their house came to him and told him, "Young master, it is time to return." Dane asked the butler, "Herman, were you waiting for me?" Herman replied, "My duty is to always attend to your needs from the shadows." Dane then grabbed the pillow from Herman's hand and said, Thanks," while wiping the sweat from his face. He pondered, shouldn't Herman receive assassination, stealth lessons? He seems talented enough. And then he asked him, "How is it?" "Everyone's pretty busy, right?" Herman replied, "Yes, everyone seems to be busy with the preparations for the second banquet. And the other nobles have already begun to arrive. After all, it would be difficult for more than 30 noble families to arrive on the exact date." Dane then suddenly asked him, "Oh yeah, what about my sisters?" Herman told him, "They opened a teleporter gate together and went to the academy. They said they didn't have a choice because they had midterm exams soon." Dane said, "That's a shame, but oh well, let's go back." Herman said, "Yes, young master." While walking back, Dane thought, "When I have time, I should take a look at the gifts that my sister gave me." And remembering his birthday night, he exclaimed, "Ha! The life of a noble is so tiring." Then he said, "My schedule is more packed than usual because of my birthday. At least I can find some solace when resting in the garden like this. Mr. Gardener has cultivated this place so beautifully. I feel strangely at peace when I look at the flowers. My oldest sister said that flowers are what contain the most mana in nature. I have some time. Should I analyze the flower's mana?" After saying all that, he grabbed a flower and tried to feel its mana while pondering, "I've been training as much as I can. I've not had any noticeable development in magic or summoning magic. I'm still not sure what I should focus on. Having too many talents can be troublesome at times." He eventually felt the mana flow of the flower and was amazed, saying, "This is the flower's mana. This small flower contains such a massive rushing mana flow. If one can feel the mana flow of nature and make it their own." He started feeling the mana in his hands and continued pondering. It can then settle into the body and become a magic circle. This body's mana affinity is tremendous. I can see something that others can only feel with their sixth sense. He felt the mana and controlled it nicely, then said, "This is it. Mana, which I could only faintly see before, is becoming clearer." After that, he closed his fist, and the mana broke into pieces. He shouted, "Huh? What just happened?" Right at that moment, we see two guys in the garden having a walk and talking to each other. One says, "I'm so bored. Father is too busy speaking with the other nobles even though we just arrived. We've totally been brushed aside. Let's just show our faces, then go back to our room to rest, like last time." And the other asked, "Are we allowed to do that, big brother?" The big brother said, "It's not like it's our birthday. Who cares? You think that the Sogres family's young master will care about something like that?" While walking and having this conversation, they forgot their way out. The big brother said, "Damn, I think we lost our way again. Ugh, why is this garden so pointlessly big?" The little brother spotted Dane and told the elder brother, "Big brother, over there, there's a person." The elder brother looked at Dane and asked, "Huh? Did that kid also get lost?" Then he called Dane in a high pitch, asking, "Hey, you there? Seeing how you're dressed, are you a servant? Well, anyone's fine. Lead us to the exit." Dane looked at both of them angrily and, while walking towards them, said, "You guys get out of there right now. Don't you see what's under your shoes?" The big brother arrogantly asked, "What is it?" All of a sudden, is this guy shouting at us because we stepped on some grass? Dane said, "Why are you ruining the flower bed instead of using the path?" Big brother replied, "Ha, you're being quite cocky for someone so small. Do you know who we are?" Dane said, "Yeah, the brute's ruining the flower bed." The big brother's face turned red with anger. "What? Brutes? Who do you think you're talking to, servant?" The big brother stepped forward, grabbed Dane's collar, and shouted, "We're the sons of Count Tyron, a guest of this castle." Dane, after hearing that, suddenly thought, "Count Tyron, he's the noble who got captured after I defeated him on the battlefield. He was a really irritating noble. Like father, like son." The elder brother continued shouting, "Even if this is in the southern countryside, surely you know about House Tyron? It's famous in the capital. Our house can make someone like you disappear without a trace. So watch your mouth." Dane thought, words won't get through to him. The elder brother took the stance to punch Dane, shouting mindlessly, "Are you crazy? How dare a mere servant look at us like that?" Dane smashed his head into the elder brother's head before he could punch him, and the elder brother fell back. His younger brother panicked, shouting, big brother, are you okay?" The elder brother looked at his hand and noticed his nose was bleeding and shouted again, saying, "This crazy? What the hell? Blood! My nose is bleeding!" He then tried to attack Dane again, saying, "I'll kill that bastard!" Dane stood firmly in front of him, giving him a murderous look, and told him, "You? Go ahead and try. The elder brother attacked Dane, and Dane, while dodging it, pondered. The flow of magic I saw earlier, if I can harness that magic to my will, then shouldn't I be able to compress that force into a physical form? Shall I test it out? Dane gathered mana on his palm and shot it at the elder brother. He flew back, and the little brother ran towards him, shouting, "Brother, are you all right?" Dane noticed that the elder brother fell on the flower bed again and thought, "Oh no, the flower bed is totally ruined." The elder brother got up angrily and said, "Shit! To think that you can use magic? Who are you?" The little brother suggested to him, "Brother, let's stop now. At this rate, something bad will happen." The elder brother shouted at him, "You get out of my way. I'm going to kill that bastard." Then he did magic and said, "Heed my call." Suddenly a portal appeared, and a fox-like creature came out of it. The elder brother laughed and said, "Ha ha ha ha! How's this?" "This is my summon, Genpu. I'll show you the consequences of messing with me, Tyron." Then he ordered his wolf, "Genpu, rip that bastard to pieces." Dane heard that, and disappointedly thought, "A mere wolf-like summon. It feels quite lacking compared to Sister Claire, who can summon a wyvern." The wolf ran forward to attack Dane, but as soon as he went close, he stopped. Digron was shocked and shouted, What's going on? How is Genpu? What are you doing? Hurry up and rip that bastard's throat!" The little brother Dana said, "Brother, he's wagging his tail?" Digron exclaimed, "Ugh! What did he do? Hey! Genpu!" Dane rubbed his hand on Genpu's head and said, "Good boy." After that, he wondered, how did this happen? Now that I think about it, even Sister Claire's summons were quite friendly. However, I had simply thought that was due to my blood ties with her. Thus, in a situation like this where there's no relation, it may be that I have a very high favorability, but it could also mean that Bastard's favorability had hit rock bottom. Digron got angrier and shouted, "That doesn't make sense. How can a summon betray their master?" Dane asked, "So, do you want to continue?" His little brother, Dinar, told him, "Brother, let's just go. We've lost." Digron said, "Be quiet," and began to cancel his summon. The little brother, while holding his arms, said, "Big brother, I actually—" Digron noticed that Dinar had peed in his pants and scolded him, saying, "Crap, how embarrassing." Dane sarcastically thought, "They're all over the place," and then told both brothers, "For your information, the bathhouse is in basement level 1 of the main castle." Digron grabbed his brother's hand and said, "You! Wait right there. I'll be right back." He walked away, telling his brother, "Let's go, Dinar." Dane told him, "Hey, at least take your summon with you." Later, we see Dane practicing the mana he had just discovered, and he pondered, "It's actually quite simple. It's just like how Sister Claire taught me. The faint link between that bastard and Genpu. After carefully overwriting that magic with my own, Genpu became connected to me. To think that I, who hadn't done anything close to an actual summoning, just because of my high favorability, would succeed at summoning." He suddenly heard a voice saying, "Is that the brat who bullied you?" He looked back and saw Count Tyron with Digron, and Digron said, "Yes, father, it's that bastard." Dane looked at that and thought, "Ha! That idiot escalated things now." Digron told his father, "Not only did he bully me and Dinar, but he also canceled my link with Genpu." His father, Mogard Tyron, stepped forward and said to Dane, "My name is Mogard Tyron. I am the head of the Tyron Count family, one of the capital's great nobles." Then he asked him, "Are you the brat who made my son's face like this and forcefully took his summon?" Dane replied, "Yes, that's right," and then thought, He looks fatter than the time I captured him as a prisoner. Peace is really great, huh?" Mogard said, "As an invited guest, I plan to let it pass if possible, but this is something I absolutely cannot overlook." He then asked Dane, "Why are you in a place like this alone? Reveal your identity." Dane proudly replied, Dane Sogres, the youngest son of Arkin Sogres, the Lord of the South and the head of the Sogres Count family. Mogard thought, the youngest child of the House of Sogres, huh? Looks like things have taken an unexpected turn. Dane wondered. He was taken prisoner by that guy, Argrick, even though he didn't achieve anything during the war. Mogard looked at Dane and thought, I'll maneuver the situation in my favor so that the Count is held responsible and use that as a pretext to demand mining rights. The nobles that looked down on me will now bow down before me. Mogard asked Dane, you're the birthday boy, Dane. Dane replied, yes, that is correct. Mogard angrily thought, arrogant brat, I didn't come to this backwater southern land just to celebrate your birthday. He then patted his son's shoulder and asked him, so, what do you plan to do about this? Then he said to Dane, you wounded my son, a guest you yourself invited. You even stole our summon? This is a grave crime. I'm going to speak with Count Sogres personally and hold him accountable. Let's go. Dane thought, you can practically see right through him, and said, yes, I understand. But before that, I expect an apology. Mogard angrily said, what? An apology? What impudence? Dane then explained to him, saying, yes, while it is true that I hit your son's nose and hurt him, I was threatened and just defending myself. Also, I didn't steal your summon. Genpu just chose to follow me. Digron shouted, what? There's no way Genpu would do that. And then he said to his father, Father, that boy is lying. After hearing Dane, Mogard pondered, hold on. I heard that the second daughter here was a genius summoner. Right, I understand how it is. There's a good chance that girl taught the boy how to forcibly cut off a link. Then he said to Dane, even if what you say is true, it's only right to grieve a summon being stolen. Yet still, are you saying that you expect an apology first? Dane said, yes, that's right. Mogard, while looking at him, thought, who exactly does this boy think he is acting like that? How arrogant. To talk back when his elders are speaking. Even bothering with this boy is making my jaw ache. Then he said to Dane, all right, I won't scold you any longer. Let's go see what Count Sogres has to say about it. Dane thought, seems really eager about this. Suddenly, Count Sogres came with Duke Thermion, and while walking close to them, he said, you were looking for me? Dane suddenly looked at him and said, Father. After that, Digron explained himself to Duke and Sogres, saying, I just got lost in the garden with my little brother. So, I asked your son to guide us. All of a sudden, he headbutted my nose and kept using this weird technique to mock me. So, just to scare him, I called out my summon, and he stole my summon from me. He tried to attack me. Dane, after hearing all those lies, wondered, given that he can lie with such a straight face, I'm eagerly anticipating his future. Mogard said, Count Sogres, I only intended to give him a warning, but stealing someone's summon is clearly not right. I just simply can't let that part slide. Sogres replied, we cannot stop at only hearing one side of this quarrel. I'd like to listen to what Dane has to say, then assess the whole situation. Would drawing a conclusion then do? If you're worried about me making a judgment on my own, I'll request that Duke Thermion also give his opinion. Duke Thermion said, if you really need me, let's handle it like that. Dane thought, damn! Thermion getting involved is just going to make things more complicated. I've got a bad feeling about this. Sogres told Dane to explain himself, and Dane continued thinking, well, just explaining how it went down should be enough. Then he replied, although it's a little bit different from what actually happened, some of what Tyron's son said is true. However, the flowers that we grew with such care in our gardens, he stepped on them as he pleased. I only told him to get out. The one who got angry and grabbed the other person by the collar for what they said, it was him. Digron said in panic, That's a lie. When did I? Sogres, while getting angry, told Dane to continue. Dane continued and said, "What's more, I heard it very clearly. When he summoned Genpu, his command was to kill me. Also, I didn't steal his summon. His summon came up to me first and saw my goodwill." Duke Thermion, impressed by his explanation, thought, "What kind of 7-year-old has that kind of vocabulary?" Finally, Dane said, "I never stole his summon." Mogard Tyron stepped forward and said, "Nonsense. It's impossible for a summon to submit to someone who isn't even a summoner. He clearly must have used some sort of secret technique." Dane replied, "No. I possess an innate affinity with summons. A summon that is not close enough with their master could submit to someone like me." Mogard said, "What kind of absurd?" And Sogres asked, "Is that really possible?" Dane replied, "Yes, that's true." Mogard laughed and said, "Ha ha. He's not seriously asking us to believe that, right? Each of their stories is different. If this is how it is," Duke Thermion said, "we should be able to prove it with just a summon." Mogard thought, "Ugh, all of this time Thermion butting in." Sogres then asked Dane, "Dane, can you prove it to us?" Dane said, "Yes, father." Later, when Digron tries to summon his wolf, he fails and thinks, "What should I do? I can't summon Genpu. Digron, what's the matter?" Mogard told him, "Summon it quickly." Digron says, "Father, the thing is I can't." And Mogard angrily says, "How can you suddenly not summon something you summon several times a day?" Dane smiled and thought, "I already severed the connection, of course. There's no way he could summon it." And then he said to Sogres, "Father, I will summon it now. In order to do that, it seems like I need a sign that he possesses." Digron angrily said, "What did you say? My sign? I can't believe you're demanding my sign. What kind of nonsense is that? Even if someone else uses a sign that has another summoner's unique code engraved on it, there's no way it would work." Sogres tells him, "According to what you say, even if he uses your sign, it shouldn't work. What's the harm in trying, then? Would it not actually prove your words true?" Mogard thought, "Damn, since he isn't wrong, I can't really decline." And Duke Thermion said to Digron, "Hand your sign over for a bit, Digron." Dane then grabbed the signal in his hand and thought, since a summon sign has a summoner's unique code engraved on it, no one else is usually able to use it. But the Genpu that Digron summoned was imbued with my mana. The summon sign is only a vehicle. The Genpu that is already connected with me will answer my call. Suddenly, the Genpu appeared and started licking Dane. Both Digron Tyron and Mogard Tyron were shocked, and Digron said, "Father, how did my Genpu—" Mogard said, "This is impossible." Duke Thermion saw that and said, "Amazing. Didn't you say he was learning spearmanship?" Sogres replied, "That's correct. I'm not sure what brought this about." Dane then rubbed his hand on the Genpu and told him, "I'm sorry for summoning you just for this, and thanks for showing up." Mogard disappointedly thought, "Damn, this has turned into a disaster." Count Sogres then said to Mogard, "What should we do? We've confirmed his summon. Do you acknowledge it?" It seems that Dane was telling the truth. Mogard said, "It appears that we were mistaken in believing our summon was stolen. My son wasn't truly trying to kill Dane. Isn't that right, Digron?" Digron replied, "Yes. I was just trying to scare him a bit. I never meant to try and kill him." And Mogard continued his words, saying, "Look." He clearly didn't mean to. Dane angrily thought, "Ha! This punk just keeps going on, even now." Eventually, they all heard Liela's voice saying, "It's not true." They looked back and saw Liela standing there. The Duke asked her, "Liela, what brings you here?" Liela said, "I heard your voice during my walk." "Greetings, Count Sogres and Count Tyron." Mogard looked at Liela and thought, yes. This kid is the Duke's daughter?" Count Sogres asked Liela. Anyway, what were you saying? He lied. Leela replied, actually, I happened to hear their conversation during my walk earlier. Degron, scared, questioned himself. What? She heard everything? Count Sogres politely asked Leela. Is that right? Leela. Would you mind telling us everything you heard? Leela immediately started telling everyone whatever she heard and what she knows, and Dane happily looked at her thinking, I wasn't expecting this, but thanks to her, things went smoothly. Later, when it was clear the fault was from Degron and not Dane, Mogard said to Degron angrily, Degron, what are you doing? Hurry up and apologize. Degron said, I apologize. I was wrong. Count Sogres replied, I would like for you to apologize to my son, not me. Mogard said, I understand. I was just about to ask him to do that, and pushed Degron, saying, Degron, go quickly, do it. Degron then walked towards Dane and said, Sorry, Dane. Dane wondered, is it really an apology if you're only lowering your head? I don't really want to accept it. But based on my past experience, instead of being stubborn, because you didn't have a choice after a third-party witness came forward, it'd be more beneficial for me to show generosity. Then Dane said, All right, I accept your apology. Degron smiled happily and said, The thank you. Mogard exclaimed and said, Phew. That was close. The Duke, after hearing Dane's forgiveness, thought, I knew he was special. He could have been stubborn about it since the other party was in the wrong. Count Sogres said, You can stop your little argument here. Dane accepted the apology after all. Personally, I have no intention of letting this incident slide. You tried to kill my son with your summon. Mogard tried to speak, saying, See Count Sogres! That wasn't. But Count Sogres ignored him, continuing his words, I don't want to hear your lame excuses, Count Tyron. Take your family and leave this castle. Mogard panicked and said, What? What are you? I came all this way without complaint. If I get chased out now, it'll all have been for nothing. He then thought, I need to stay in the castle at all costs. And while grabbing the arm of Count Sogres, he said, Count, please forgive us. I'll do anything you ask of me, just this once. Count Sogres replied, I have no need for you. I'll be sending soldiers to your room. Then he grabbed Dane's hand and said, Let us go, Dane. Duke Thermion also told Layla, Come on, Layla. Dane, while walking with his father, looked back at Mogard and Degron, thinking, Serves you right. They started this, so they're only reaping what they sowed. Anyway, I didn't know my father could get so scary when he's angry. The Duke then asked Dane, Is that true? You defeated him with a mana bullet? Dane replied, Yes, that's right. And then the Duke said to Sogres, Spearmanship, summoning, and now magic? How outstanding. Has history ever seen such talent? Sogres replied, with a big smile on his face. Certainly. I'm glad to have such an exceptional son. The Duke then continued. Talent is one thing, but he sure is calm. Usually when kids fight, they get agitated and insist they're in the right, but Dane doesn't. I have no doubt that your son will grow up to be a fine man. Count Sogres rubbed his hand on Dane's head and said, I have no doubt that your son will grow up to be a fine man. It's too early to tell. We have to wait until he's all grown up to be sure. Today's incident was resolved peacefully thanks to Layla. Without your testimony, things could have turned ugly. The Duke heard that and thought, Oh? Does he see Layla in a good light? In that case? Then he said to Sogres, Why? She simply stated things as they were. If you insist, then how about we talk about their marriage? Sogres thought, Don't tell me he wants Dane to marry his daughter. Then he ignored the Duke's words and said, Oh my, the sun is already setting. It's almost time for the banquet. After saying that, he ran away, shouting, I'll be leaving to get ready. The Duke then told Layla, Layla, take your time on your way back with Dane. Then he ran behind Sogres, shouting, Sir Arkan, Let us talk a little. Layla stood behind and said, There's no stopping, father. Then she asked Dane, Anyway, why did the summon ignore its summoner and obey you instead? I've seen famous summoners duel many times in the capital, but I've never seen something like this. Dane replied, I'm not sure either. It just kind of happened. Layla then said, Huff, you're hiding it, aren't you? Not fair, even though I helped you. Dane asked, Not fair? I also helped you. Don't you remember when I helped you with your swordsmanship? Layla replied, Ah, now that I think about it, you're right. Dane thought, Well, it's true that she was a big help this time. Then said, Let's just say that we both helped each other out once, and we can help each other out one more time. Layla got cheered up and said, Wow, that's a great idea. I want to use it right now. Dane thought, So impatient, I wonder what she wants to ask of me. And then he asked Layla, What is it? She said, Teach me how to use mana bullets. Then Dane questioned her. What? Why do you want to know that? She replied. Because I want to grow quicker, of course. I want to make at least 2 mana cores before entering the academy. Dane thought. She's still young, so why is she so impatient? Is her family strict? Layla continued her words. I want to grow up quickly and make my mother happy. My mother loves me a lot, you see. She'd definitely be happy if I grew stronger more quickly, Dane thought. Right, I heard the adults talk about it. Countess Thermion is bedridden. Then he said to Layla, All right, if that's why, then I can't exactly refuse you. Layla exclaimed happily, Really? Really? Then let's start tomorrow. I'll be here until then. Or do you want to start tonight? Dane said, All right, do whatever you want. Mana bullets shouldn't be too difficult once you understand the flow of magic. Layla said, I'm so excited. And then asked Dane, Dane, it's your turn now. What's your request? Dane asked, What I want. Soon after, at the banquet, everyone was talking and having conversations. Among them, some people were saying, I heard that Count Tyron got kicked out of the castle. What did he do for that to happen? I heard that Tyron's eldest son caused some sort of incident. That's right. I heard that he picked a fight with the young Master Dane and got taught a lesson. Tsk, tsk. They came all the way over here and caused a scene. How embarrassing. Also, did you hear? There's a rumor that young Master Dane is also an outstanding summoner. Oh? Does that mean that Sogres' house will now be a prestigious summoner house? That's not all. Apparently, he also uses magic. Oh my, is that even possible? After this, a person greeted Dane and, while introducing himself, said, So you're young Master Dane, the one from rumors? I am Baron Opent. Do you happen to know anything about the Opent territory in the east? Dane replied, I do, sir. I heard that the territory is famously known for its grilled trout and sapphire. Baron replied, laughing, Ha ha ha, what a bright young man. That's right. The Opent House's trout and sapphire are the best on the continent. I heard that you were very talented in many areas. I guess that was true. He then pushed his daughter forward a bit and said, At any rate, I brought my daughter as well. I almost introduced her too late. There, say hello, Sylvia. Dane thought, What? What's this all of a sudden? The girl then introduced herself and said, Hi, my name is Sylvia. It's nice to meet you. Dane replied, Ah, yeah, I'm Dane. The girl moved forward a bit and whispered to Dane, You're the one who's inheriting the Sogres house in the future, right? Dane said, What? I don't really know. The girl said, Don't feign ignorance. I heard that you're also talented in many ways. Please take care of me. It's possible we'll become family in the future after all. Dane awkwardly replied, Yeah, please take care of me as well. Then he questioned himself. Why are kids these days so straightforward? Suddenly, Layla arrived there and said, Dane, you're here? Dane looked at Layla. Then Layla angrily asked Dane, "Dane, who's she?" Dane replied, She's—" Sylvia intervened, saying, "Hello, Your Highness. I am the eldest daughter of Baron Opent, Sylvia Opent." Layla said, "Oh yeah? How nice it is to meet you." And then they both started looking at each other vigorously. Dane, looking at them, wondered, "Ugh, this familiar killing intent." Layla grabbed Dane's hand and said, "Sorry, but I'll be borrowing Dane for a while." "We already had an appointment, didn't we, Dane?" Dane said. "Oh, you're right. Sorry, Sylvia. Let's talk again later." Sylvia angrily chuckled and said, "Sure. That's too bad." Then she thought, "You're saying you called dibs on him, huh? The darling daughter of the Duke, who holds the most power in the capital, second only to the Emperor, versus the young lady of the Eastern Baron. She's no match for her." Later, outside the castle in the garden, Dane and Layla were having a walk, and Layla asked Dane, "How are you two acquainted? Is she perhaps someone you might get engaged to?" Dane said, "Engagement? It's not like that. We were just greeting each other." Layla asked, "Really?" And Dane said, "Yes, of course." Then he thought, her expression instantly lightened. They reached a place, and Dane told Layla, "Look, we've arrived. This is the secret spot that only I know about." Layla, amazed, said, "Wow, who knew there was a place like this?" Dane said, "That's right. We won't be bothered by anyone else here." Layla saw fireflies around her and said, "Wow, amazing. I didn't know this kind of place existed. No one will know if we do it here." Dane said, "That's right. It's a good place to train." And he asked Layla, "In any case, I wonder, have you ever felt mana before?" Layla said, A little bit. Not enough to form a mana core, but I have tried to intake mana by breathing it in." Dane said, So you're not at the emission stage yet." And then thought, "I learned it naturally on the battlefield. You'd think that a ducal house would teach her this." Dane continued, "Let's start with something easy then. First off, you have to feel the mana that you intake into your body." Layla asked him, "Feel it inside my body?" Dane replied, "Yeah. If you want to expel mana from your body, you need to learn how to control the mana inside it first. The important part is the imagination. Close your eyes and imagine mana swirling within you. Picture it whirling inside your body like blood circulating through your veins." Layla did not understand anything very well and replied, "Okay, I'll do as you say." Dane looked at her face and thought, I can tell by her expression that she doesn't get it. Dane then showed her something and told her, "This action becomes the foundation for everything that you can do with mana. It's the very basis of it, so I know you can do it." Layla, after trying it and failing, said, "Dane, it's not really working." Dane said, "That's normal for your first time, even if it's the basics. Focus again." Arkan was hiding behind a tree and watching all that, thinking, "Oh ho, even at his young age, our son is already teaching someone. He's all grown up." Suddenly, he heard Duke Thermion asking him, "What are you doing over here?" Sogres panicked, then looked back and said, Good heavens, Your Grace?" Duke asked Arkan, "Haha, no need to be so surprised. Is there a couple having a secret, late-night rendezvous?" Arkan then asked him, "What do you mean, a couple? Anyway, how did you get here?" Duke replied, "Have I intruded? In any case, what a sloppy show of stealth. Your wife is the Empire's legendary assassin, yet you haven't learned a single thing from her." Arkan said, "I did my best in my own way." And Duke replied, "If the castle's owner goes around peeping on others' affairs, they'll speak ill of you, old man." Arkan said, "Peeping? I just followed my son." Duke said, "Huh? You too?" "I followed my daughter." Then Arkan told him, "I'm hardly one to say, but you are a hopeless parent." Duke replied, "Did you figure that out just now? Let me see as well." They both started watching their kids while hiding. Layla asked Dane, "You had a dimensional pouch like this?" Dane replied, "Yeah, my eldest sister made it herself and gave it to me as a present recently." Layla thought, "Oh my, I'm so jealous," and then said, "My older brothers stopped paying attention to me when they entered the academy." Dane then showed her a mirror, and Layla asked him, "But did you bring a mirror?" Dane said, "I brought it just in case it could help." Layla asked, "What? Can it?" Dane explained to her, "It's easier to picture something in your mind while looking at a mirror instead of relying on imagination alone." Layla asked, "Really?" Dane said, "Yeah. Stand in front of the mirror. Get a full view of yourself." And Layla replied, "Okay, I'll try." Layla started trying it seriously, and Dane, while looking at her, thought, "She's being quite serious." Duke, while looking at them, said to Arkan, "Layla seems to have taken a liking to your son." Arkan asked, "Does it seem that way?" Duke said, "Of course. It's not common for her to open up like that." Then Arkan asked again, "Did something happen?" "She seems like a bright child." Duke then told him, "She's only bright on the outside. I can't say the same for the inside." After her brothers left for the academy, her mother was bedridden, so they haven't been able to be together like before. It has led to her finding it difficult to open up to others. So that's what happened. Arkan, after hearing that, said, But you understand her situation. Why act so cold toward your own daughter?" Duke asked. "Did you notice? I'm doing that on purpose. When I raised my sons, I showered them with attention, and they grew to be spoiled rotten. Don't just assume that Layla is also going to be like that. She'll be hurt. No wonder she asked Dane for help instead." Duke noticed that Arkan was nagging off and said, "You still nag like the old days." Arkan asked, "Huh? What? When did I do that?" Duke then asked Arkan, "Tell me, will you be sending your son to the capital? If you are, how about letting him stay in the ducal castle?" Meanwhile, Layla passed at learning mana and cheered up, saying, "I did it, I did it, I did it, right?" Dane said, "Yeah, you did great." And Arkan replied to Duke, "I'll do as Dane wishes, just as Arabella and Claire have done. However, if Dane says that he's going to the capital, I'll make sure to do as you say." Dane said, "It'd be nice if you came by while you're there." Arkan asked, "What? You want me to spar against you all day long?" Duke said, "You've gotten sharper." Meanwhile, this was all happening, and Dane's mom, Lily, was standing there, pondering. I was wondering where those two had gone off to. Why are they acting so shamefully? Indeed, the love they have for their children holds a strange sway over them. I'll just pretend I didn't see anything. After Dane and Layla were done training, while walking back to the castle, Layla thanked Dane and said, "Thank you, Dane. I think you're a real genius. I've heard people call me a genius a lot, but compared to you, I don't think I'm much." Dane looked back and replied, "This is only the beginning. You'll definitely grow as well." And then he thought, The other two quietly left, as if he knew that Arkan and Duke were watching him. Layla then asked him, "Are you going to go to the academy as well? That's where all of the Empire's geniuses gather." Dane said, "Well, I don't know yet. Do I have to go? I can get pretty strong just by training alone." Layla angrily said, "You idiot! Studying isn't everything. That's where you go to form your noble faction. You need to go if you want to form connections from a young age." Dane heard that and thought, ha. For a 7-year-old child, she's pretty knowledgeable in how the world works. Then he told Layla, "I know, but I'm not interested in going to the academy yet. There's a mountain of books I haven't read in the library, and I still have a lot to learn from my parents." Layla asked, "That's true. But don't you sometimes want to play with the other kids? I heard that your older sisters are both attending the academy. Dane wondered. She's persistent. Then he said, I'm thinking of going in the future if I feel like it. And she asked him, You have to tell me if you do, okay? He replied, Yeah, okay. She then further told him, When you visit the capital, you need to visit my house and see what I practiced as well. It's a promise, Dane replied. Sure. I'll send you a letter if I plan to go to the capital. Layla worried and asked him, Right, Dane. When are you going to tell me your request? Dane told her, I'll tell you when I go to the capital. After that, the scene shifts, and we see the Sogres family wishing farewell to Duke Thermion. While this goes, Duke Thermion gave a symbol to Dane, and then Dane asked him, What is this? Duke replied, It's your birthday present. I hope you like it. Dane kept looking at the symbol and thought, It looks valuable. Duke continued his words and said, The symbols of our Thermion house are revenge, the sword, and the blacksmith. The history of the house began with our progenitor, who was a blacksmith. Thanks to him, our house has the best forge in the empire. No, the best forge on the entire continent. All of the Thermion-made weapons that guide the empire were made in that forge. After hearing that, Dane pondered, Yeah, I know. All the ores in the world can be found there, and all sorts of mystical weapons and artifacts are created in the greatest forge on the continent. Duke Thermion then told Dane, If you go to the forge and show them that insignia, they will create a weapon of your choice for you. This insignia is basically a certified check that proves the honor and skill of whoever holds it. Dane Sogres and his wife heard that, and both got amazed by it. Dane, out of amusement, said loudly, My word, such a precious insignia. Isn't it something even the imperial family desires? Duke then patted Dane on the head and said, Grow well and help your father. Dane replied, Thank you for this, Duke. Layla and Duke said bye, and both went off in their horse buggies. As they were going, Dane's mother got close to him and asked, Are you sad to see her off, Dane? Dane replied, Yes, very. She's practically my best friend. His mother then told him, When you go to the capital, you'll be able to meet her again. Become even more handsome and shock her. Dane then thought, Yeah, I can't stay here forever. I'll see you again when I visit the capital. Stay well until then, Layla. Meanwhile, the Duke, while going back to his home, thought, It's quite odd. Every time I look at Dane, I am reminded of that man. That warrior, Argrick, who showed the ability of a triple-class warrior at a young age. If he were still alive, he could have become one of the Hexa-class knights of the Drenic Empire. Dane, I wish to see your grown self soon. After a few days, we see Dane sitting in his room on his bed, and while looking at the egg his sister gave him, he thought, I'm feeding it mana every morning and evening. Is it too early for it to hatch? An egg holding a mysterious familiar. Even if someone weren't a summoner. If they could instill the egg with their mana and imprint themselves as the master before it hatched, then they could permanently control a summon that usually only sticks around temporarily. The quality of my mana obviously needs to match with familiars, and there are probably a lot of tricky conditions that haven't been fulfilled yet. I heard that there are eggs that never hatch because their conditions are never met. After that, he grabbed the egg and said, I hope that's not the case. He then exerted some mana on the egg and said, Even if I change the flow and strength of my mana, there's no reaction. After trying for a little while, he put the egg back. Inside the box, Dane said, Phoo. Maybe hoping I would succeed in one go was too greedy of me. He then heard a voice from outside saying, Young master, are you ready? Dane said, Ah, is that Herman? I'm coming. Dane tried to walk, but suddenly he noticed something. He looked back, and while holding the egg in his hand, he said, I definitely just heard a... Herman came inside and asked, "Young master, what did I just hear?" Dane said, "Give me a second. I'll check the egg first." Then, while looking at the egg and not getting any reaction, he thought, "I don't feel anything different. Was I mistaken? Ha. I got excited for nothing." Herman asked Dane, "The egg showed a reaction?" And Dane replied, "No, I think I imagined it. Let's just go." After that, we see Dane in the training ground, swinging his sword nicely like a skilled warrior. Herman started clapping while praising him. "Amazing, young master. When did you train with the sword?" Dane replied, "I just wanted to swing it around a little." And Herman said, "As expected of the genius, you are even talented with the sword." Dane, while looking at the sword, thought, "Learning how to use a new weapon was fun. And I wasn't able to hold a sword during that time since my father was watching so closely. Thankfully, I haven't lost my touch yet." Herman then walked towards him, holding cookies, and said, "Please have some snacks before continuing." Dane said, "Okay, thank you." And while eating cookies, he thought, it might be good to train in this as well. On the other side, Dane Sogres was standing in front of the window and pondering about the state affairs. Phew, the same thing every year gets tiring. Still, we gained a lot during the last banquet. I was able to confirm that many nobles are paying attention to the South and that most of those nobles are hoping for a good relationship with us. Since the war ended, the South, with its good climate, holds many things the nobles covet. Maybe their interests should have been obvious. Still, those interests couldn't even be compared to the attention Dane received. The conflict with the eldest son of Count Tyron was outside of my expectations, but he calmly and logically explained the situation in front of the adults and even confidently proved his talent. He's too mature, and I sometimes wish he would act a bit childish like other kids his age. Maybe that's just my desire. The alarm rang and he said, "It'll soon be time to go." He then grabbed his spear and said, "Dragon Tail, let's make him swing it a bit today." He walked to the training ground, eventually witnessing Dane training with the sword. He questioned himself, swordsmanship? Why is Dane using a sword rather than a spear? And then he continued pondering, that's right. That damn Duke must have said something to him. He wouldn't be swinging the sword here after training with the spear for so long otherwise. But still, he seems quite experienced with the sword. The strength he's displaying is something even those who train with the sword their entire lives can't imitate. Just when did he learn this? However, one thing's clear. He's talented with the sword as well. After that, he asked Dane, "Dane, I've been watching you. Just when did you learn swordsmanship?" Dane looked at his father and pondered. "I got totally exposed. Maybe it might be best to tell my father the truth." Dane replied, "I didn't really learn it." Arkan then said, with an amazed expression, Is that so? So it is talent. Spearmanship, magic, assassination, summoning, and now swordsmanship. If I was someone else, I wouldn't have believed that a child could show talent in all these fields." Then he asked Dane, "Dane, are you curious about the world?" To confirm the question, Dane asked, "Pardon? Are you saying?" Arkan said, "That's right. The world outside the walls. My thoughts are that maybe this county is too small for your talent. You will be the one losing out if you continue staying here." Dane heard that and thought, it seems he's realized that he can't hold on to me forever. Then he replied, "To be honest, I'm curious." "Good," Arkan said. "Then we'll now need to begin preparing for you to go out into the world." Dane asked, "Really?" And Arkan replied, "Of course. Although it is regretful, I must heed the desire of my son." Then, while showing him the spear, he said, "And I've brought you something a bit more special today." He asked Dane, "Do you recognize it?" "It is Dragon Tail that reacted to you on your first birthday." Dane looked at the spear and thought, "That's right, I do remember. It reacted to me. Arkan gave him the spear, saying, "Here, try holding it." Dane grabbed the spear and felt a tremendous amount of power residing within it. Then he wondered, amazing. There's so much power here. Arkan looked at that and thought, it's reacting much stronger than when he was one. No one can blame me anymore. No, I will make his talent with the spear shine the brightest. Then, while putting his hand on Dane's shoulder, he told him, I am thinking of at least making you master the spear before leaving, so be ready, Arkan said. Dane said, yes, father. Arkan continued, Dane, this spear will one day be yours. Before then, grow strong enough to wield it with pride. Dane replied with maturity and responsibility. Of course, rather than Dragontail, I will work hard to wield your teachings with pride, father. Arkan laughed proudly. Ha ha, as expected of my son. Then he asked Dane, all right then, shall we begin? Dane said, yes. Then they started training. After a little while, Dane was on his bed, thinking about what his father told him, and said, the outside world. I've always been curious about it, even during the days when I was roaming the battlefield. Then he recalled his past life and thought, in my life as Argrick, all I knew was war. Tidying camp, cleaning my weapons, eating bland food, and going to battle. The only way to escape was for the war to end or die in battle. Just those two ways. I couldn't even imagine living a life outside the battlefield. But as Dane, the situation is different. I don't know how my talent will be used, how the world will accept me, or what I can do in the world. But I have the opportunity to travel everywhere and accomplish anything. For a while, I only wanted to stay and enjoy the warmth of this place. But thanks to Father's question, my thoughts have changed. Then he said, all right, let's go outside. And suddenly his mother, Lily, came inside, saying, so you've made a decision, son. He got scared and asked, when did you come inside? She replied, don't worry. You were so deep in thought you didn't even hear me knock. Dane childishly asked, oh, was I? And she said, that's right. I heard from your father that you would be deep in thought. She then questioned him, so are you curious about the world outside the county? Dane said, yes. Father said it would be a waste of my talent to stay here. And after thinking for a while, I'm curious about the outside world as well. I'm sorry, Mother. His mother hugged him and said, do not apologize, Dane. Dane replied, but my sisters aren't here, and if I leave for the outside world as well. Lily then told him, I am fine, Dane. Your mother knows. I know just how amazing your talent is. Even if you didn't want it, the outside world would have called for you. It would be amazing if you could stay here longer with your mother, but the world won't let you do that. So go and do what you want to do, Dane. Dane replied, yes, Mother. Even if I leave my home, I'll return often and tell you everything I saw in the world. Lily then said, thank you, my son. Then looks like I'll need to prepare to send you out to the world, just like your father. Dane asked, pardon, what do you mean by preparation? Her face showed motherly care as she continued, I was planning on teaching you tracking and going slowly from there. But it seems I'll need to get you on board with setting and avoiding traps as well. Dane heard that and thought, ugh, am I going to receive special lessons from Mother as well? Lily continued and added, and there are skills that eliminate corpses. Ah, right. You'll need to learn the structure of the human body, too. Dane thought, my goodness, I'm going to be exhausted before I even step outside. Lily then told him, in any case, your mother will teach you many things. Dane said, yes, Mother. I'll do my best to learn, and thought, special lessons from my parents with love. Yeah, if I want to go out into the world, I'll need to get ready. After that, oh yeah, wait, I'm the narrator now. Let me tell you about a throwback. In the southern region of the Altheon Empire, Sogres County, with its warm climate and abundant natural resources, this place became a cornerstone of the Altheon Empire so that they would not tire out during the war. And thanks to Count Sogres' magnanimous ruling, it was a region of peace and warmth. And finally, once the war ended, the few small rebel forces were all apprehended as well. At last, an era of peace, which feels to persist for eternity, has returned. Now let's get back to the story. Inside the county's market, people were talking about the Sogres family. A girl, while having a stroll, asked her friend, "Did you hear the rumor? I heard that young Master Dane visited the shops." The other girl asked, "Really?" And the first one continued, "That's right. He went and bought something from a shop. I heard that the eldest daughter of the shopkeeper fainted that day. Goodness, so the rumors are true." The other girl said, "I heard that he becomes more handsome by the day. I wish I could see his face at least once. I heard that he hasn't been betrothed to anyone yet. Should I try?" The other girl said, "What? Are you crazy? Hey, wake up, he's only 14. The girl who was crushing over Dane said, "Well, from what I heard, he doesn't seem like a 14-year-old at all." The other girl asked, "Really?" Then the desperate girl said, "Yeah, I heard that he's already as tall as the Count." The other girl said, amazed, "Whoa, maybe it's because the Countess is tall as well. That's the gene difference." The desperate one said, "One thing that's clear is that he could be mistaken for a 20-year-old. His handsome silver hair and green eyes will make my heart stop if I see him. I'll need to see him the next time he comes. When do you think he's going to come again?" The other girl said, "Well, I heard that he visits the shops often." The desperate one said, "Ah, right. Now that I think about it, I heard this from the forest keeper as well. Then it might be easier to meet the forest keeper first and go from there." The other girl, creeped out, asked, "What are you really doing?" After this, we take a shift and look at the county outskirts, an area infused with ancient magic, forest of the last days. Here, Dane is executing the escape mission that his mother, Lady Sogres, had given him. We see Dane checking the direction of the wind with a cloth and saying, "The direction of the wind is southward. Since I saw the Cheryl spider here before, I'll need to go west 3 more hours. I need to get out before the sun sets." The narrator returns. One of the most important things in assassination is not getting caught by your enemies. During the set period, Dane needed to avoid the traps and nets set up by his mother and escape from this forest that houses all sorts of other dangers. Let's get back to Dane. Dane, while jumping from one tree to another inside the forest, thought, "Breathe," to take in the air and mana of the surroundings, and hold it in before breathing out again. And after prioritizing stealth and assimilating with the surroundings, traps that are hidden in unexpected areas begin to reveal themselves. He then stumbled upon a trap, and while looking at them thought, "Like right now, these thin strings that are nearly transparent fill the entire area. Looks like the traps will activate as soon as I touch them. It's the most basic, but that's also why it's the most dangerous mechanism." Dane then turned his sleeves up and said, "But it's a relief this one is easy to disarm." Suddenly he saw a bunch of rustlets and they started charging towards Dane. Dane started analyzing the situation, thinking, "No, it's a rustlet pack. I didn't expect them to appear here. They're charging at a pretty scary speed. I need to deal with them quickly. Wait, it'll be more dangerous if I touch the trap in the process." Dane, while getting attacked by the rustlets, thinks, "I need to get out of here for now." And then, while running, he traps the rustlets and thinks, "All right, they fell for it. I dealt with them without having to do anything." Then, suddenly, a rustlet tries to bite Dane, and he barely dodges it, thinking, "Coo, it's a fast rustlet." Then the rustlet spits something at Dane, and he uses his stick to avoid getting harmed by the spit, thinking, "Obviously, whatever it's spitting at me is dangerous. I can't waste my time here. He then kills the rustlets getting in his way, and after defeating them while getting out of the forest, he lies down and exclaims, "Ugh! I think I'm going to throw up. At least I safely escaped the forest." Dane suddenly notices the presence of someone and gets ready, thinking, "Is there something else now, damn it? Just when I let my guard down." He sees his mother standing in front of him, and she tells him that he was impressive. "A total of 3 hours and 30 minutes. You were faster than me." Dane asks, "Were you watching the whole time?" And she replies, "Of course. I can't just leave you alone. Well, I know your talent better than anyone, but as a mother, it's a little different." Dane says, "Oh, I see." Lily then tells him, "Amazing. You did very well. I couldn't find a single fault." Then she asks, "Are you hurt at all?" Dane says, "No, I'm fine." And she squeezes his cheeks, saying, "Really? You'll end up getting scouted as an assassin at this rate." Lily then takes out a dagger, and while giving it to Dane says, "Here, take this. It seems that this will fit you better than it does me now." Dane looks at that and questions, "This is your dagger, Nighthorn. Can I really take this?" Lily replies with a smile on her face, "Of course, I won't be using it anyway." Dane grabs the dagger, and Lily continues her words. Nighthorn was created from the mysterious ethereal ore. The ore can take the elements of the object. If you wish, it can store all the poisons in the world. Dane, while looking at the dagger, thought, "I know that it can even mix the absorbed poisons and use them." Dane then said, "Thank you, Mother. I'll treat it well." And Lily replies, "Thank you, Dane. Should we return?" After that, Dane thought, "Phoo. So I guess that's all the training I can get from my mother?" Eventually, they heard some noise from the jungle, and Dane asked Lily, "Mother, did you hear that as well?" Lily replied, "I did. It seems someone is in the forest. Let's go quickly, Dane." Dane said, "Yes, Mother." We then see a man at Sogres County inside the Annex Tower who walks up and says, "Where am I? I was definitely eating mushrooms in the forest." Dane walks inside the room and says, "You're awake. You're still being detoxified, so please don't move." The person asked in confusion, "Why is a young man detoxified? Did you save me?" Dane was holding something in his hands and replied calmly, "Yes, you ate a red-nose mushroom. Fortunately, we found you in time." The person then questioned himself, "That was a red-nose mushroom?" Dane said, "It's a dangerous mushroom. If we were even a little late, you would have been a corpse." Dane gives him a cup of water, saying, "Here, drink some water." The person grabbed and thanked Dane. As the person was drinking water, Dane, while looking at him, thought, "His belt had the insignia of the Nixian Magic Tower. He's not an ordinary person. If it wasn't for Nighthorn, I wouldn't have been able to save him." The person, after drinking the water, asked Dane, "Thank you, so where am I?" Dane replied, "The Sogres County's Annex Tower." The person heard that and thought, "So I didn't just get lost in the southern region, but I was poisoned by the mushroom and walked all the way here?" Dane told him, "Please rest for now. I've informed my father. He'll soon come to see you." The person got confused and asked Dane, "What? Your father? Then you are—" Dane replied, "Yes, I am the youngest son of Count Sogres, Dane Sogres." The person heard that and said, Who, is that so? So you're the younger brother of Arabella, the genius being eyed by all of the magic towers?" The old person then asked Dane, Well, so how did you find me?" Dane replied, "In truth, I was training with my mother in the forest." The person heard that and got amazed, thinking, "What in that crazy forest? Even as an 8-chain mage, I lost my way. The flow of mana reversed while I was casting my spell, and my body was ruined." The person then questioned Dane, "Is that true? The entire forest holds ancient mana?" There are those damn traps everywhere. Dane replied, That's right. That forest is our property. It is a dangerous place for anyone who isn't a member of the Sogres house. Also, since the flow of mana is different from what modern mages use, it is the worst place for a mage to be. You were in grave danger due to the mushroom as well, the person said with worry on his face. Is that so? So I nearly ended up dead there. Then he suddenly questioned his own self. Wait, then, is this boy already strong? Enough to train in that forest. He asked Dane, Are you the one who made the antidote as well? Dane said, Yes, I am. After hearing that, the person looked at Dane and thought, He only looks to be somewhere in his teens, but he formulated an antidote. That requires extensive knowledge and precise production skills? Haha. How can a family like this exist? On top of those two generational geniuses, even the youngest son is... If we were still at war, the Sogres County may have become the most powerful noble house within the Altheon Empire. After thinking all that, the person said to Dane, I'm greatly indebted to you. Dane replied, Indeed you are. And the person thought, Look at this kid, rather bold of him. Then said, Ahem. I should pay back the debts I incur. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Sidrain Gauss. Not too long ago, I was the head of the Nixian Magic Tower. I invite you to share whatever you'd like with me, since I have everything except what I don't have. The person, the former head of Nixian Magic Tower, Sidrain Gauss, spoke with authority. Dane thought, he must be referring to a subspace, and then said, Ah, is that so? He continued his thoughts. There are plenty of mages who survive without a home by placing everything in a subspace. Sidrain heard Dane's unimpressed words and thought, What's this? I said I'm the head of a mage tower. Normally people would be surprised or humbled, but this kid isn't fazed one bit. He then said to Dane persistently, You won't have a chance like this ever again. No need to hold back. You can just tell me what you want. Dane got quiet for a second and replied, I'll take my time to think about it. Sidrain got flabbergasted and thought, Indifferent to the end? What kind of kid is this? Dane left the room, saying, Well then, please get some rest. Sidrain then pondered, He's the first ever to treat me this way. I was thinking of taking my leave after staying a day or two, but that won't do now. I'll need to have a closer look into that interesting fellow. Later, we see Dane and his butler, Herman, having a conversation. Herman says, The head of a magic tower? He must be remarkably skilled in the field of magic. Dane replies, I'm sure he is. From what I've heard, he's an 8-chain mage. Herman then said, If he's 8-chain, then he's higher than Lady Arabella. Dane replied, Well, yes, he is. And Herman said, Young master, that means a powerful figure is indebted to you. Magic towers function as independent territories of this continent, like a nation. Dane then asked Herman, who would have imagined he'd be such an influential person? Herman asked a question over his question, saying, But I wonder, what was the head of a magic tower doing wandering the forest? Dane replied, That place is no ordinary forest. It's what the mages consider a forbidden area. They call it the Forest of the Last Days. Herman heard that and said, The Forest of the Last Days would indeed pose a challenge, even for mages. But he's fortunate enough to have lived thanks to you, young master. Dane then looked at his sword and told Herman, Herman, get me a new sword. The ones I'm using now are all lightweight and short. Herman replied, Ach, I see. Those were all spoils of war the Count brought back, so I'll prepare a long sword for training tomorrow. Dane said, Thanks. I'll wrap up today with this one. Then he remembered the symbol given by the Duke to him and thought, Ah, come to think of it, I had that too. The crest Duke Thermion gave me. It's already been 7 years since that day. If I go to the capital, I absolutely must visit him. Eventually, Arkan arrived there and said to Dane, "Dane, it looks like you're training incredibly hard today as well." Dane replied, "Yes, father." Then he asked his father, "I thought you had matters to attend to outside the castle." "I see you've returned early?" Arkan replied, "Things wrapped up earlier than expected, and I had a reason to hurry home." Dane asked, "Because of the head of the magic tower?" Arkan said, "More or less. Who knows? Maybe he could be of help to Arabella. He might be a good master for her." Dane pondered. "As I thought, he was thinking that somehow, maybe, the head of the magic tower could be of help to Arabella, but I'm not sure he could handle her temperament, what with how she punched one particularly annoying senior of hers." Arkan then patted Dane's shoulder and said, "In any case, you did well in saving another's life, Dane." Dane replied, "I just did what had to be done." Arkan said, "It's not something just anyone can do." "What you did was amazing." And then, while walking, Dane asked his father, "Ah, are my sisters unable to come this time as well?" Arkan replied, "About that. Why is it so difficult to even catch a glimpse of my own daughters' faces? Arabella has just finished up her extended semester and is picking a magic tower to join. And I hear Claire received a request from her professor to take up an appointment as an assistant professor." Dane said, "They're both so impressive." Arkan then said to Dane while smiling, "Your sisters are impressive, true, but I have high expectations of you. I wonder how the world will handle you with your many talents." Dane said, "I wonder as well." And Arkan laughed while saying, "The thought of catching Duke Thermion off his guard already has me laughing." Dane heard that and thought, "Duke Thermion, I want to cross blades with him again someday." He then remembered Layla and continued his thoughts. "In any case, I wonder how Layla is faring. Her last letter came maybe 1 year ago. Well, I guess I can find out when I go to the capital." After a few days, we see Sidrain Gauss shouting, "What? I'm not fully recovered yet? I'm about to go stir-crazy from staying in this room for so long." And the doctor told him, "So, don't venture out too far. And for now, you are forbidden from using magic." Sidrain asked, "What, can't use my magic?" And the doctor said, "Yes, your magic reflux has not yet been purified, and the poison in your body has yet to be fully nullified. You will have to wait a bit longer." Sidrain said, "I guess I don't have much of a choice. It's been a while since I was last unable to use magic. So this will be a change of pace. But since I can't stand being here any longer, let's go out." He stood up and the doctor said, "You don't even know your way around here." Sidrain left the room and the doctor said, "If he stirs up trouble, I suppose I'll be the one suffering." Then we see some maids standing together and talking. "Mages are either geniuses or nutcases. Listen to this. He went up and down to every single floor of the building dozens of times, and now he's spent a few hours looking at flowers in the backyard," the other maid said. "But he's supposed to be an incredibly powerful figure among the mages, isn't he?" The one who started the conversation continued, "So what if he is? He's completely nuts. Our Lady Arabella needs normalcy in her life, but..." Soon after, we see Sidrain in the garden, and while observing the flowers, he said, "I really wonder who crafted this garden. I would never have guessed these flowers possess such extraordinary magic." Dane arrived there and said, "I dropped by to see how you were doing, so this is where you were." Sidrain laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, did you think I ran off somewhere? I was told to stay here until I fully recover." Dane replied with a smiling face, "Yes, I wish for that as well." Sidrain said, "In any case, this region is a fine place for one to rest and recover. I can see why nobles come south once the vacation season hits." Dane replied, "It is an amazing place, yes. Though a bit of a shame, given how I have to leave soon." Sidrain asked him, "What? You're leaving? Where are you going? Dane replied, Not that far. I'm going to the capital. Sidrain said, Ho, the capital? That must mean you're going to the academy. Then he asked Dane, Ah, and your sisters are at the academy as well, aren't they? Dane replied, Yes, they are. Sidrain said, You'll have an easy life there. He then thought, His sisters are famous for having sublime levels of talent, so I wonder how much this boy has. Should I check? He then tried to assess Dane's mana and was shocked, thinking, Gah, what is this thick mana? His mana is unbelievably dense. If geniuses in his age group could be considered a stream, then this boy is a raging rapid. That amount of magic would normally be so unstable it would be bursting out. So how? Dane noticed it, and then asked Sidrain, Don't you think that assessing another's magic without permission is a bit rude? Sidrain said, Ah, could you tell? You've got skill. Ahem. I'll apologize. That was thoughtless of me. Sidrain then worriedly thought, There's no possible way I can believe this. Could there really be a person who possesses such incredibly dense mana as this boy? Dane looked at Sidrain and thought, What could he have seen that has him so surprised? Sidrain continued his pondering. Wait, but why don't I see a circle? With that kind of density, I should be able to see a magic circle. He then realized, it can't be. He has 2 mana cores. Sidrain asked Dane, How were you able to form 2 mana cores? Dane said, Is there something wrong with forming them? The person furiously said, Of course there is. You possess such crazy density of mana, yet you really plan on wielding a spear? And to have this kind of magic with just cores alone and no circles? You're voluntarily turning your back on the greatest talent ever seen, Dane asked. Then can't I just use both of them? Sidrain then said, This is so frustrating. Where in the world should I even start explaining this? Do you know why the lifespan of a magic swordsman is so short? They are powerful because they possess both mana cores and circles simultaneously. However, cores and circles interfere with each other, and when they clash, a problem arises. It's a law of sorts. The mana compressed in the core is transmitted to the circle, so a circle that cannot handle the result of their clash will burst. Dane, after hearing that, thought, Well, I had figured out about as much for myself, but is that really impossible? And Sidrain continued saying, Yeesh, such a waste of talent. A waste. Dane asked, Is it impossible to use magic without a circle? Sidrain said, While not impossible, without a circle's refinement, how are you going to be able to use spells that require purified magic? Also, it's not like no one before you has thought like you do. However, the majority of attempts I've seen have failed. Dane asked, Then shall I try? And then said, I haven't tried it before, but it seems like it should be possible. Sidrain questioned himself. What is this crazy boy saying? Dane continued his words. If I rearrange the magic code? Dane then cast a spell which worked, and he said, Oh, it worked. Still, it's only at the level of a basic one-chain spell. Sidrain was shocked and said, What the? How is this even? Then thought, This kid clearly has no magic circle, so how is he using magic? Sidrain then said to Dane, This is absolutely unbelievable. You should only be able to use raw magic through the refinement of a circle, and yet, Dane said, My sister Arabella has said that my affinity for magic is high. Maybe that is the reason, Sidrain thought. Is this what the commoners mean when they describe gifts that are impossible to imitate? A so-called innate talent? Dane, while continuing to do magic, said, This really works, so you can use magic without a circle. Now I know. And Sidrain thought, Innate mana affinity, along with mana purer and denser than anyone else's in the world, this boy is the real deal. Then he asked Dane, Would you consider becoming my disciple? Sidrain tried to convince Dane, saying, "Wait a moment, please. Let's have a talk," I said. "Ignoring such an incredible talent as yours would really be a shame." He then asked Dane, "Do you by any chance know how to use two-chain magic?" Dane replied, "I don't know the code, so I can't." Sidrain then said, "Oh ho, then that's great. If you become my disciple, you could do 8-chain magic immediately." Dane replied, "No, thank you, I won't." Arkan arrived there, laughing, and said, "Ha ha, I didn't realize you had gotten so close to my son already." He then asked Dane, "Son, what were the two of you discussing?" Dane replied, "Well, he kept asking me to become his disciple, and I refused." Sidrain said, "Count Sogres, your son possesses the talent to become a great mage." Arkan asked, "Ha ha, is that so?" Sidrain continued, "Probably even greater than you can imagine. He even succeeded in using chain-level magic without a circle." Arkan got shocked and asked Dane, "Without a circle, is that true?" Dane replied, "Yes, father." Arkan said to Dane, "I'm pretty sure you had no basic knowledge of magic." Sidrain said, "And that is why his talent is so impressive." Dane replied, "As expected of a former head of the magic tower. You could immediately see my son's talent." Sidrain said, "It's not a matter of simply having talent. Your son's a genius. He could even become a rare magic swordsman." Arkan angrily thought, Magic swordsman. Dane looked at that and thought, "Crap! The word you should never bring up in front of father." Sidrain said, "That's right, a magic swordsman. Are you finally interested? If he becomes my disciple, I'll take full responsibility. I'll make him into the Empire's top magic swordsman." Arkan then angrily shouted at Sidrain, "He cannot become a magic swordsman." Sidrain asked, "But why not?" "A swordsman paired with magic. He is uniquely suited to become one, don't you think?" Arkan replied angrily. "My boy Dane won't become a magic swordsman. He'll become a magic spearman instead." Sidrain heard that and thought, "What? Was that the issue? Ha ha ha. Why are all the people in this family like this?" Later, we see Dane reading a book in his room, which said, "To a mage, becoming a disciple carries great meaning. Mages normally raise successors through the act of something called inheritance. This tradition has carried through from ancient times and is still practiced even in modern times when universal magic education has been established." He closed the book and thought, "That's right. What the head of the magic tower is looking for is not simply a disciple, but a successor. Given how an 8-chain archmage is hanging around me like this, it means my talent really is something incredible. After having heard so many compliments, I do sense something swirling in my body. Ah, I have that thing." He grabbed a crystal ball given to him by Arabella and said, "Okay, let's ask Arabella."